welcome back to the Deep Dive. We are really glad you're here with us today.
We are digging into 12 Archangels, and specifically Chapter 7.
And this is one that, I have to admit, it threw me for a loop when I first glanced at the cover sheet. It looked, well, a little soft.
It is deceptive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because when you bring up the topic of archangels, the brain usually goes to a very specific, almost cinematic place.
Right. The blockbusters. You think of Archangel Michael, the flaming sword leading the armies of light, or Gabriel, the cosmic town crier blowing the trumpet. It's all very loud, very catchy.
It's action movie stuff. It's force and announcement.
Exactly. But today's subject is Archangel Jophiel. And if Michael is the general and Gabriel is the messenger, Jophiel is, well, she's something else entirely.
She's the architect. Or maybe the librarian.
And here's the curveball. The source material places Jophiel right in the center of a very specific, very structural tradition, Freemasonry.
Which you don't see coming.
Not at all. We're essentially asking, what is an angel doing in a Masonic lodge? Shouldn't she be, on a cloud or something?
It seems out of place until you understand the core argument of the text. And for that, we have to dismantle a very common misconception about the word beauty.
Right. Because the mission of this deep dive is to unpack this specific claim that beauty isn't just decoration.
It's not the paint you slap on the walls after the house is built. The text argues that beauty is a structural, load-bearing necessity.
And that's the hook for me. Because in modern life, beauty is usually the first thing to go.
Oh, absolutely. It's a luxury.
If the budget is tight, you cut the aesthetics. But this text says without it, the whole building, whether that's a lodge, a life, or a society, it actually collapses. That feels like a massive claim.
It is. And to see if it holds water, we have to start with the entity herself, Jophiel. The name is Hebrew Jophiel or Iophil.
Which translates to beauty of God.
Correct. But we have to be very careful with beauty here. We're not talking about pretty. We're not talking about aesthetics in the, Instagram sense.
Okay.
The text links Jophiel directly to the Shekinah.
Okay, stop there. We need to define that because that's a heavy theological term. What exactly is this Shekinah?
So in Kabbalistic mysticism, God is often seen as transcendent, far away, beyond comprehension, the clockmaker.
Right.
But the Shekinah is the exception. It's the indwelling presence. It's the aspect of the divine that actually settles here in the physical world.
I like that distinction. So you have the landlord who lives in another state, and then you have the Shekinah living in the house with you.
That's a great way to put it. So if the other archangels are busy in the heavens, Jophiel, through the Shekinah connection, is focused on how divinity manifests here.
In the mud and the bricks.
In the mud and the bricks. But her essence is described as contemplative and harmonizing.
So she's not fighting battles.
No, she doesn't force the light in. She reveals the light that's already hidden in the matter. She's not bringing a spotlight. She's polishing the mirror so the light can reflect.
Okay, so let's take this idea, the revealer of hidden light, and drop it into the Masonic Lodge. The text talks about 3 great pillars.
It does. The 3 principal supports that are said to hold up the lodge: wisdom, strength, and beauty.
Okay. Now, playing devil's advocate here.
Oh.
I get the first 2. Wisdom is the blueprint. You need a plan.
Of course.
Strength is the execution, the materials, the labor. If I have a plan and I have the muscle, I get a building. In my mind, the job is done. Why do I need a 3rd pillar?
And that is exactly where Jophiel steps in to say, no, it is not done. The text makes a radical claim here. It says wisdom plans and strength upholds, but beauty adorns and completes.
Completes. That's the key word. But I would argue a concrete bunker is complete if it keeps the rain out.
Structurally, yes. But is it habitable? Is it a temple or is it just a cage? The view here is that a structure without beauty is disordered. It might stand up, but it doesn't serve a higher purpose. Jophiel represents the idea that order is beautiful.
So beauty isn't about the fancy curtains. It's proof that the wisdom and strength are actually working in harmony.
Exactly. It's the visible sign of internal health. If a system is ugly in its actions or chaotic, it implies the wisdom and strength are out of sync.
The text connects Jophiel to a specific officer in the lodge. The junior warden.
Yes. And in the ritual, the junior warden is stationed in the south.
Why the south?
It's symbolic. In the northern hemisphere, the south is where the sun is at its meridian, high noon.
Okay, so not the sunrise, not the sunset. The peak.
The peak. It represents the time of highest light, but also, and this is key, the time of refreshment.
That seems counterintuitive. The time of highest light is when you stop working.
It's the moment of clarity. The morning struggle is over. The evening darkness hasn't come yet. It's that moment of perfect illuminated balance.
Where you can look at what you've built and actually appreciate it.
Exactly. Jophiel isn't the angel of hustle, and she's not the angel of sleep. She's the angel of clarity.
So she turns the job site into a sanctuary.
Precisely. Without that pause, without that appreciation of beauty, the work is it's just drudgery.
I want to push into the history, because the source drops a narrative bomb about the Garden of Eden. And just to be clear for everyone listening, Jophiel isn't in the standard Bible, right?
No, not in the canonical text. She's in the Apocrypha in Jewish mysticism. But the traditions are old. And in the story of the fall of man, tradition often places Jophiel as the angel guarding the gate.
The one with the flaming sword. I always thought that was the ultimate do not enter sign. You broke the rules, get out, you're punished.
That's the standard reading. But the source flips that on its head. It argues that the expulsion was an act of mercy.
That's a hard sell. How is kicking Adam and Eve out of paradise an act of mercy?
Think about the state they were in. Naive. Unaware. The text suggests that if they had stayed, they would have remained in a state of eternal infancy.
The failure to launch scenario.
Exactly. You can't become an adult if you live in your parents' basement forever. The text says Jophiel expelled them so they could learn, grow, and ultimately return with wisdom.
So it was about freely chosen enlightenment. You can't choose the light if you've never known the darkness.
Right. And that reframes the entire human experience, doesn't it? Our struggle isn't a penalty. It's a curriculum.
It's a school. And Jophiel guards the gate, not to keep us out of spite, but to make sure we don't return before we're ready.
We have to graduate first.
And the text draws a parallel to the Masonic initiate, too.
Yes. The initiate always begins in darkness. They're blindfolded or hoodwinked. They have to ask for light. It mirrors the Eden story perfectly.
So she's the guidance counselor who won't let you cheat on the final exam.
She ensures the proficiency is real, because false wisdom is worse than ignorance.
Let's get into the mechanics of how she does that. The source spends a lot of time on astrology and Kabbalah. It aligns Jophiel with the sign of Virgo.
Which makes perfect sense. Virgo is mutable earth.
Mutable earth. That sounds like a contradiction. Earth is supposed to be solid.
Well, think of clay or soil. It's physical, it's real, it's earth, but it can be shaped. It's adaptable. Virgo represents discernment, precision, the impulse to organize.
My friends who are Virgos are nodding their heads right now.
But the text takes it deeper. It says this Virgoan impulse is about turning chaos into cosmos.
I underlined that twice. Chaos into cosmos.
It's epic, because cosmos in the ancient Greek sense means order, the universe as an ordered whole. Jophiel's job is to take the messy, raw energy of life and give it structure.
To weed the garden.
To weed the garden. And this links right to the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. The text places Jophiel at the sphere called Bina.
Bina, which translates to understanding?
Yes, but it's a specific kind of understanding. The text calls Bina the womb of divine form. And it uses this metaphor that is just. It's the highlight of the chapter, the prism.
Yes. Lay this out, because this is where it all clicked for me.
Yes. So the sphere before Bina is Chokmah, or wisdom. The text describes Chokmah as a raw lightning flash.
That moment of genius where you have an idea, but it's so big and bright, it's almost blinding.
Exactly. It's too much voltage. You can't plug your phone into a lightning bolt.
You'd fry it.
You'd fry it. You can't build a life on raw lightning, so you need a transformer. You need a prism.
And that's Jophiel.
That's Jophiel. As Bina, she acts as that crystal prism. She takes that raw, blinding white light of wisdom and refracts it. She slows it down, breaks it into the visible spectrum, colors, forms, shapes, words.
So she makes the divine usable.
She makes it comprehensible. Without Jophiel, wisdom is just noise and fire.
Mm-hmm.
With her, it becomes art. It becomes language. It becomes architecture.
That connects right back to the beauty concept. Beauty is what happens when raw power is tamed into perfect form.
Precisely. And this leads to the practical application in the source, the tracing boards.
Yeah, let's talk about these. For the non-Masons listening, what are we looking at?
They're basically symbolic illustrations. They're dense with symbols, columns, stairs, geometric shapes.
And the text says Jophiel governs the intelligence needed to actually read these things.
To decode them. And it's not about rote memorization. It's not just pointing to a picture and saying, that is a rough stone.
It's knowing why the stone is there.
The text calls it aesthetic intuition. Jophiel helps the initiate feel the harmonic relationship between the symbols.
It's the difference between reading sheet music and actually hearing the song in your head.
That's a perfect analogy. You can analyze the notes, that's wisdom. But Jophiel lets you hear the melody. That's beauty. She reveals the why behind the what.
And the ultimate goal isn't just to become an art critic. It's internal. The Hermetic axiom comes up here.
As above, so below, as within, so without. The tracing board is a mirror. A beautiful lodge is impossible without beautiful souls to fill it.
You cannot build a perfect temple with imperfect stones. That's a tough standard.
It is. And in Masonry, the initiate is the stone. They're the rough ashlar, the jagged rock from the quarry.
And we usually think of smoothing that stone with a gavel and chisel, which sounds painful. It sounds like discipline. I will force myself to be better.
That's the path of strength, and it's necessary. But Jophiel offers a different tool, grace. Her violet gold light is said to cultivate tolerance, serenity, and thoughtful speech.
That's a huge distinction. You can grit your teeth and follow the rules, but to be serene, that's an internal change. You can't force that.
It's the difference between a forced smile and genuine warmth. You don't just hack away the rough edges, you polish them with understanding.
And that's what makes the structure strong. If the stones are too rigid, the wall cracks.
Exactly. Tolerance is the mortar.
Speaking of rigidity, there's a section here that addresses the elephant in the room with Freemasonry. It's a fraternity, historically male-centric.
It is.
But the source insists Jophiel brings the divine feminine into this space. How does that work? Isn't that a contradiction?
It sounds like one, but it goes back to the Shekinah. The text argues that while the outer ritual is masculine structures, rules, the inner current must be balanced. Jophiel reawakens the sacred polarity.
You can't be all sun and no moon.
You can't be all transmission and no reception. The text lists attributes like receptivity, intuition, nurturing care. Now, these might have been seen as weaknesses.
Soft skills.
Right, but Jophiel frames them as essential aspects of mastery. If you cannot listen, if you cannot nurture, you are not a master. You're just a bricklayer with an ego.
So you're saying without the feminine principle, without Jophiel, the initiate is actually incomplete.
They are a pillar of strength without the pillar beauty. They're the lightning without the prism. They either burn out or they destroy what they touch.
It really seems like Jophiel is the glue holding this whole esoteric system together.
She provides the why. Why do we do this? Because it is beautiful to be in alignment with the divine pattern.
So, as we wrap up, let's synthesize this. We've learned that Jophiel is not the warrior. She's the harmonizer.
And she teaches that to build well outwardly, you must build purely inwardly.
And the truth and beauty are inseparable. I love the line, a lesson poorly expressed may never take root.
That's the key. You can have the truth, but if you deliver it without grace, people won't hear it.
She reveals life as a temple of artistry, where the soul is sculpted by moral geometry. I love that term, moral geometry.
It implies that being a good person isn't just a vague feeling. It has structure. It has balance.
The text leaves us with a final thought I want to pass on to you listening. It says, Jophiel's wisdom does not instruct, it inspires.
A critical distinction, instruction is external. Put that brick there. Inspiration is internal. The light turns on inside the house.
So here is the challenge for you today. In your life, your work, look at your pillars.
You probably have the plan. That's your wisdom. You probably have the grind. That's your strength. But are you neglecting the beauty?
Are you building a bunker or are you building a temple? Are you applying that sacred ornament of understanding that makes the whole structure worth living in?
Because if you don't make space for beauty, not as decoration, but as a foundation, the roof might hold, but you won't feel at home.
That is the Jophiel Challenge. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
See you next time.